All right, check out former Vice President Biden's answer when asked why Democrats should vote for him.
Why are you the best choice for Democrats?
That'll be for the Democrats to decide.
Okay, one column in the New York Post says this: Biden can't win. There are women, African Americans, a Latino, and at least one gay man in the 2020 Democratic field. The social justice crowd will thank Biden for conforming to the latest woke doctrines, then kindly ask him to step aside for a candidate more properly oppressed. Well, let's talk about it with tonight's Power Panel. Former Clinton advisor Mark Penn, co-founder of Celtic Strategies, Kevin Walling, and Fox News contributor from the Wall Street Journal, Jason Riley. Great to have all of you tonight with us.
Good to see you, Shannon.
Okay, Mark, to follow up on that, in the New York Post, more of this, the social justice warriors are going to utterly maul Joe Biden. It says this: the woke social justice movement rules today's Democrats, and the party's candidates are ranked for fitness on a crude, ever-shifting scale of intersectionality, used to determine who's most oppressed. If a candidate can claim oppression based on race, gender, or sexuality, he or she can move forward. If he is deemed to have privilege, God help him. Mark, how do you think Biden plays in the current field?
Well, look, I think before we have a battle for the soul of America, we are going to have a battle for the soul of the Democratic Party. And I think Biden's entry as more of a moderate, distinct from the radical parts of the party after months of hearing from AOC, you look at the money he received, you look at the approval he's receiving in the media, you see that there's a rank and file of Democrats that's saying, we want a moderate, and they are responding quite well, much better than people expected.
All right. In the Nation, they say the Democratic primary may get ugly, but it's a necessary fight, saying this: the party establishment wants it both ways. It wants and needs the growing energy of the progressive activists and can't afford to alienate them. It also wants control and is terrified that Sanders might actually win the nomination. Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, to Mark's point, I mean, Biden's rollout was incredibly strong. I think everybody was surprised that he raised $6.3 million in the first 24 hours. But again, I think his performance on The View, I think his leadership over the last 8 years as vice president, 40 before that, he's got a lot of progressive credentials to his credit. Let's not forget, he led the fight on the ACA. He led the fight on marriage equality, actually pushing President Obama in that direction. So I think we will adjudicate this over the next 8 months leading up to Iowa. But the vice president has very strong credentials with the left wing of the party as well.
Well, Jason, you know that they're also pointing to issues that he had on race issues in the past, the criminal justice bill. I mean, there are things that they have paused with him about. You talk about the rollout. His video, a lot of people thought was very dark, and it obviously focused on the events of Charlottesville, where a woman, Heather Heyer, was killed. We find out today that her mother was never contacted, her family never contacted by the vice president or anyone with his campaign. And a lot of people find that shocking. Guy Benson writing this: this is political malpractice, plain and simple. A big, unforced, unthinking, amateurish error on literally the first public manifestation of Biden's presidential campaign. Jason, he's also struggled with questions about Anita Hill. I mean, he's had a little bit of trouble out of the gate.
A little bit, but I don't know that any of this is something he can't overcome in the long run. I mean, it's still early, but only 2 Democrats are polling in double digits, Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. This is a 2-man race right now. And I think what Biden's going to do is present himself as the moderate, the pragmatist, to a Bernie Sanders who he'll say is too radical with his socialism and his Medicare for all and his felons should be voting and so forth. He can't appeal to those Rust Belt, Midwest union voters that the Democrats want to win back. I think Bernie Sanders, or I should say Joe Biden's biggest problem is that the party has moved sharply left since he was in office. And we don't really know where Joe Biden stands on some of the hot button issues of today, whether it's impeachment or Medicare for all or slavery reparations or a wealth tax and so forth. And he's got to answer those questions and present himself in a way that doesn't upset too many progressives.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to bring together the various wings of the party if he hopes to come out on top. And he is polling there. And as you noted, the money that he's raised in day one was more than any other Democratic candidate who's gotten in so far. I mean, money
won't be an issue, I don't think. I mean, keep in mind, I mean, yes, Obama raised a lot of money and won. Hillary Clinton raised a lot of money and lost. And,
so
Trump spent half the amount of money that Hillary did and won. So I don't think money will be the issue. He has name recognition. He has experience. He's got to placate that progressive wing of the party. That's what he's got to do.
Here's what money may matter more in this, which is how people feel about how their pocketbooks are doing, how the economy is doing. 3.2 GDP, a great number for the president, for his administration today. The Real Clear Politics average, the Trump approval on the economy is this. He's up by 9 points, Mark. I mean, that's a real positive for any incumbent going into a tough re-election.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the president's greatest strength so far. In the Harvard-Harris poll, he's as high as 57% approve on the economy. And if you notice, Joe Biden didn't really mention the economy much. He made an appeal to values. I think what he said is, oh, let's not talk about the economy. Let's talk about values. I offer better values for the presidency. He's going to need an answer on the economy to win.
Yeah, Kevin, what do they do with that? Because I've heard a couple of the candidates say, well, okay, the numbers look good, the stock market looks good, GDP looks good. These polls show that people think it looks good. But their argument is that real middle America isn't feeling it at their dinner table. Yeah,
it's a great point, Shannon. We cannot, as a party, run against this president when it comes to the economy. It's a very strong economy. But what Joe Biden saw today on The View was talking about the dignity of work. We have so many people in the middle class who are working 2, 3 jobs to make ends meet. The rising cost of health care, the rising cost of college tuition is really grappling a lot of families in this country. And to talk about value, to talk about dignity in the workplace, I think is a winning argument when it comes to an economy being so strong.
Jason, final word to you on that economic number today.
I think what we saw in the Joe Biden rollout is he's going to try and make this about Donald Trump's character. And try and ignore what's going on with the economy. And we saw how well that worked out for Hillary Clinton. So I hope he has a plan B.
Well, the field is now 20. We'll see how long it remains that way or whether there are additions to that field. In the meantime, to our power panel, thank you very much tonight, gentlemen.
Thanks, Shannon. Have a great weekend.
You too.